After battling it out over a long and tiring competition with the iPhone 13 Pro Max, it just wouldn't be fair if we didn't put the Vivo X80 Pro up against one of its local rivals, the OnePlus 10 Pro. Even though both of these brands are owned by the same company in the name of BBK Electronics, there are quite a few differences, especially in the camera software. If you like mobile phones and especially comparisons of their cameras, we'd be very happy if you could drop a like and sub to our channel for moral support. Let's dive straight into the 11 categories and let the facts speak. I'm seeing quite a bit of color and warmth in these photos, especially on the right side, which is currently occupied by the photos taken by the OnePlus 10 Pro. You should also be able to spot the changes in the color tone from one phone to another, but I must admit, it's not extremely obvious. I wouldn't exactly call it consistent either, as sometimes the Vivo's photos look a bit warmer and sometimes OnePlus's. Just a couple of things though. When the sun directly hits the face, the OnePlus 10 Pro doesn't do the best job at tuning down the brightness. We saw this before in our comparison of this device along with the Galaxy S22 Ultra and the Pixel 6 Pro, and the same thing is occurring here. It's not a huge problem, but it can get annoying after some time if you live in a country that's often warm and sunny. The characteristics don't really change for the ultra-wide camera either, as again, I wouldn't say it's a groundbreaking difference, but there's a bit more detail and fine-tuning on the side of the X80 Pro regarding photos that have a person in them, and for this reason, they will be taking the point for the photo category. As always, I like these kinds of close results, and it feels like it's gonna be even closer because Vivo got a bit of praise from us for the natural look in their portraits, but going up against the OnePlus won't be easy as the OnePlus 10 Pro is currently one of the top phones in our portrait photography list. I don't know how they pulled it off, but OnePlus has gotten consistently good results against Samsung and Apple, and here are a few good examples why. There are little to no mistakes when the OnePlus 10 Pro shows off in portrait mode, and it is often able to overtake its competition by the sheer quality of its edge detection algorithm. The Vivo X80 Pro, on the other hand, also produces some sweet results, and even though its photos overall have more errors, the bokeh gives the photo a more natural look, which is quite important because portrait photos aren't just about blurring the background completely and then drawing out the subject to create the foreground. It's also about immersion, and I feel Vivo does this very well, which is why this category will end in a tie with good performance from both devices. The one thing OnePlus surely has an advantage over Vivo though are videos. I can confidently say that this is the Achilles heel of the X80 Pro because unless something very surprising happens, the quality is at the bottom of the list out of all flagships we've seen so far. The footage is just really bright, and this in turn leads to the video being hard to watch, especially if you want to see what's going on in the background. The device especially struggles under sunny conditions, and with bright colors being added into the mix, it definitely becomes an issue that Vivo needs to fix because there are miles between the quality of their photos and their videos. OnePlus's 8K video is also much better and stable, so there is obviously no question or doubt in my mind when I say that OnePlus has put in the work to make their videos stand out. So, back and forth until now with each device winning one category and one ending in a tie. Zoom is next on the list, and we're really going to have to look at the early levels of zoom to decide that the Vivo X80 Pro is slightly better with less noise and better details, up to 10K though, which is pretty much unusable on both phones. The way the software works here is that when it can't comprehend what exactly is present, it tries to guess the small details, and my face in the photos is the result. I expected more from Vivo because they put 2 optical zooms in their new flagship, which also includes a 5x one, but it's still better than the OnePlus 10 Pro and its 3.3x optical zoom, which is less than impressive. This trend will most likely continue with the front camera with adequate quality but nothing special. OnePlus does like sharpness a bit more than Vivo, but the photos are overall fine as expectations aren't that high for front cameras unless it's something like the S22 Ultra, which usually does great work in that regard. The front camera video is completely different between the two, but I honestly don't prefer either, as one is too bright with no details in the background and the other one is just too dark. A tie is an order here, and let it be known once again that front cameras are unfortunately not a priority for most companies that are trying to keep their devices below the $1,000 mark, except Google of course. Before we activate those big stabilization features and run around, let's check how these devices shoot in 4K with their standard level of stabilization. I don't think I'm imagining things, but the X80 Pro seems slightly more stable than the 10 Pro while walking around, but it's a super small detail, so you'd have to try hard to catch it while the camera is turning around me, and you'll notice the smoothness that I'm talking about. I don't particularly like the performance of either phone while I'm running, even though the frame is cropped in and also supported by an active stabilization mode. In my opinion, Vivo looks better overall due to less instabilities while walking, but it's pretty close. I'd say macro is also close because you need to get really close while you're shooting footage, you know? Okay, that wasn't really funny, but still. The reason the OnePlus 10 Pro can get closer is because it lacks a macro mode. Don't ask why. So we use the optical zoom, which obviously will give you less quality than an actual macro mode. The Vivo X80 Pro's macro mode isn't anything special, but it still manages to preserve the specifics while they kinda disappear on their rival. Slow motion is borderline identical, almost as if I'm looking at the same phone. 240 FPS at 1080p and an upgraded 480 FPS at 720p with little to no changes in quality will ensure this category ends in a tie, and it's good to see that the 480 FPS option is of an acceptable quality because we do see with some phones that their slow motion feature lacks the quality for the user to be able to see the details in the footage. Those details are more prevalent on the OnePlus 10 Pro in the autofocus test though, as even though it's irrelevant to the test, the quality is just better. Regarding the reaction speed, the 10 Pro is slightly ahead of the X80 Pro and the letters on the ball come into focus quicker.
Hello again everyone from another new camera comparison.
So this is the category of the audio test where we check out the quality of the audio as well as the mic.
Here we have the Vivo X80 Pro,
and on this side is the pride of OnePlus, the 10 Pro. It certainly looks that even though Vivo has made a really good phone for taking photos, it won't be able to overtake any device in the audio section with a subpar microphone quality. You heard it for yourself, it's pretty much out in the open, just like me when walking around the most beautiful part of Berlin at night. Some beautiful sights just for you from the center of the city, and to be able to fully enjoy it, I'd recommend focusing on the corner that Vivo currently presides over. You've heard this before, the OnePlus phones do pretty well at night, but apparently they hadn't met Vivo phones yet. From my experience, this device is the #1 spot when it comes to night photography, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but these photos look sublime. A decent amount of details in the shadows, accurate focus, a pinch of sharpness, and pretty accurate color reproduction. We're unfortunately not gonna get similar quality from the videos, but let's be real. Photos are pretty much easier to optimize in the software, and the video quality from these devices, especially the Vivo, wasn't great to start out with, so no surprises that they didn't perform this well at night. Overall, Vivo takes the last point in this comparison. 5 points for Vivo, 3 for OnePlus, and 3 ties will bring the sister brand comparison to an end. Much appreciated to both companies for producing good quality flagships for acceptable prices, and a special thanks to Vivo for giving us great night photo quality. Drop a like and give the sub button a click to be part of the Versus family, and I'll see you soon.